Welcome to the Book Talk Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Book Talk Podcast, where we explore the world's most influential books, one conversation at a time. I'm Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here.
Hi, Sophia. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. And you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really looking forward to today's discussion.
Me too. I think today's book has the power to change the way people think about communication and relationships.
I couldn't agree more. It's one of those books everyone should read at least once.
Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to Book Talk Podcast.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a like and share it with your friends and family. Your support helps us bring you more great book discussions every week.
It really means a lot to us. Thank you for being here.
All right, Sophia. Are you ready?
I'm ready. So what book are we discussing today?
Today, we're discussing How to Talk to Anyone by Leil Lowndes.
Great choice. Let's dive in and discover why this book has changed the way millions of people connect, communicate, and build relationships. So have you ever walked into like a networking event or maybe a crowded dinner party and you just get that sudden sinking feeling in your stomach?
Oh, yeah. Completely. So overwhelming.
Right, because you look around and you see people who are just effortlessly chatting and laughing and they're totally commanding the room.
Yeah, they just work the crowd like it's nothing.
Exactly. And you watch them and you can't help but wonder, like, what is their secret? Well, in this deep dive, we are extracting the absolute most potent psychological tricks from all 92 techniques in this book. Our mission today is really simple. We're going to equip you with the hidden social mechanics so you can confidently walk into any environment, build instant rapport, and leave just a phenomenal first impression.
And, what's fascinating is that we often operate under this totally false assumption that a great first impression starts with having, like, the perfect opening line.
Oh, like a clever icebreaker or something?
Yeah. Exactly. Like, you need to be perfectly witty right out of the gate.
Yeah.
But the research, and really just the reality of human behavior, tells a completely different story.
Right.
Before you even need to worry about what to say, you have to realize that 80% of a first impression is entirely visual.
80%?
Yeah, 80%. It happens in the first 10 seconds, which is long before a single syllable even escapes your lips.
I mean, if 80% of the impression is locked in before we even speak, that basically means our physical presence is screaming our autobiography to everyone in the room.
It really is. We're constantly broadcasting.
So we have to start with the most obvious signal, right? The smile.
Yeah.
But as we see in the book, it turns out that the way most of us are taught to smile is actually, it's actually hurting our credibility.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. We've all been conditioned to smile politely the very moment we make eye contact with someone. But that old-fashioned, instant plastered-on grin, it actually lacks credibility in a professional setting or in high-stakes social situations.
Because it just looks fake.
Right. It looks reflexive, almost submissive, honestly. There's this brilliant anecdote in the text about a woman named Missy. She's this incredibly bubbly, effervescent person who took over her father's corrugated box business.
Which is, I imagine, a pretty tough crowd.
Extremely. The corrugated box industry is super tough and heavily male-dominated. And her father actually warned her that her quick, giggly smile would instantly undermine her authority as a CEO.
Wow. Which just flies in the face of everything we're taught about being likable, right? Like, be friendly.
Exactly. But from a psychological standpoint, an instant smile just signals a desire to please. It doesn't signal authority at all.
So what did she do? How did Missy adapt to that?
Well, she learned a technique called the flooding smile. Instead of just flashing an immediate grin at anyone who walked into her line of sight, she learned to look at the person's face for a split second, pause, kind of soak in their persona, and then
let it happen naturally.
Right, then let a big warm smile slowly flood over her face and overflow into her eyes.
Oh, that's so smart. Because if we break down the evolutionary psychology of why that works, it's honestly brilliant. By delaying the smile for just, like, half a second, it acts as a subconscious authenticity check for the person seeing it.
Exactly. It tells their brain, oh, this person didn't just smile out of habit. They looked at me, evaluated me, and decided I was actually worthy of their warmth.
It makes the smile feel earned, like it was engineered exclusively for them.
Yeah, and it's a massive shift in perceived status. But right alongside the smile, we also have to look at where our eyes are going. The text details this concept called sticky eyes.
Okay, I want to get into this because this one is intense.
It is. It involves pretending your eyes are glued to your conversation partner with, like warm taffy. You don't break eye contact even after they finish speaking.
Which is so hard to do.
It takes practice.
Uh,
And when you finally do look away, you're supposed to do it really slowly, as if the taffy is stretching and reluctantly breaking.
right. And this is where we get into some truly fascinating biological manipulation. Because there was this study conducted in Boston that perfectly illustrates why that prolonged eye contact is so powerful.
The blink counting one.
Yes. So researchers paired individuals up for just a casual conversation, but secretly, they instructed half of the subjects to count the exact number of times their partner blinked.
Which is such a bizarre task.
Right. But by giving them that task, the researchers inadvertently forced the blink counters to maintain this really intense, unwavering eye contact.
Because they couldn't look away or they'd lose count.
Exactly. And the result of the study is just staggering. The unsuspecting subjects, the ones who were being stared at, reported significantly higher feelings of respect, fondness, and just overall connection with their partners.
And the biological mechanism behind that is what makes it so effective. When someone maintains unwavering eye contact with us, it actually triggers a mild fight-or-flight arousal in our nervous system.
Like our heart rate literally goes up.
Yep. Heart rate goes up, pupils dilate. And in a safe social setting, our brain misattributes that physiological arousal. We don't think, oh no, I'm in danger. We think, wow, I'm feeling a ton of chemistry and connection with this person right now.
It's a complete biological hack.
It really is.
But okay, I have to push back on this a little bit because I've been a little skeptical of sticky eyes. Staring unblinkingly at someone while they talk sounds like it could cross the line from charismatic to downright predatory.
That's a fair point.
Right. Like, can't sticky eyes come across as just totally creepy?
Yes, absolutely. If you ignore the social context, it can definitely backfire. And the text actually brings in a Yale study that maps out how different genders respond to eye contact to address this exact issue.
Oh, really? What did they find?
So the data shows that while intense eye contact increases feelings of intimacy between women, or between men and women, it can backfire terribly between two men.
Interesting.
Yeah, men can actually feel threatened or sense hostility when they're subjected to excessive eye contact from other men. It feels like a dominance play.
That makes a lot of sense.
So if you're a guy talking to another guy about personal matters,
Yeah.
you have to make your eyes a little less sticky, you
Yeah.
know? You have to break contact more frequently, or they might completely misinterpret your intentions as aggressive.
So you really have to read the biological room.
Precisely.
Okay, so we have the face calibrated, right? The delayed smile, the controlled eye contact. But to project true confidence, we have to align the rest of our body. And there's this incredible visualization tool the author calls hang by your teeth.
I love this analogy.
It's so vivid. You're supposed to imagine the great Wallendas, you know, the legendary circus acrobats who perform on the high wire. When you walk through a doorway, you visualize a leather bit hanging by a cable from the doorframe.
Just dangling there.
Right. And before you step into the room, you picture yourself literally chomping down on that leather bit. It lifts your head, pulls your cheeks back into this confident expression, and stretches your entire spine into perfect, commanding alignment.
And the thing is, posture is a two-way street. We usually think our emotions dictate our posture, like, I'm sad, so I slump. But science shows our posture actively dictates our hormones and our emotions.
Right. It feeds back into the brain.
Exactly. When you visualize that bite lifting you up, you physically occupy more space. And doing that actually lowers your cortisol, the stress hormone, and raises your testosterone, making you feel more relaxed and confident.
Which is exactly the mindset you need for the final trick in the silent setup, which is, hello, old friend. Because meeting strangers naturally makes our bodies tense up, right?
Oh, totally. We cross our arms, our micro-expressions harden up.
But if you stand at the edge of a room and mentally pretend that the stranger you're about to talk to is actually like a long-lost friend you haven't seen in years, your body language transforms completely.
Your eyebrows subconsciously soften, your toes naturally point toward them, and your shoulders just drop. And an Adelphi University study proved that this actually creates a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Wait, really? How did they test that?
Well, volunteers were instructed to secretly treat unsuspecting subjects as though they genuinely liked them. And an amazing thing happened. The volunteers actually wound up genuinely liking the subjects.
That is wild.
Yeah, and the subjects reported much higher respect and affection for the volunteers. It's like love literally begets love.
So if we synthesize all of this, the first 10 seconds are entirely about hacking your own physiology to project safety and warmth and status. But And this is the hard part. The silent movie eventually has to end.
Unfortunately,
You
yes.
know,
You do have to talk eventually.
you have to open your mouth. So how do we transition from this flawless silent setup to actually breaking the ice without just shattering the illusion of confidence we just built?
Well, the transition relies entirely on taking a sort of psychic photograph of your listener's state of mind. It's a technique called make a mood match. Before you speak, you have to assess their tempo. Are they moving at a slow, adagio pace, or are they at a fast, frantic allegro pace?
Right.
Because if you mismatch their mood, the conversation just crashes before it even begins.
There's actually an anecdote in the source material that perfectly captures the disaster of a mismatched mood. The author describes walking into an elevator after a really exhausting day. She was feeling totally sluggish and depleted.
We've all been there.
So she makes this slow, casual comment about the elevator being a bit flaky, just trying to make mild conversation. But unfortunately for her, she was surrounded by a group of high IQ Mensa members.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And instead of matching her exhausted tempo, they pounced on her comment with intense, rapid-fire, highly technical explanations about railguide alignments and cable mechanics.
It completely overwhelmed her. They were so focused on delivering intellectual content that they completely ignored the emotional melody of the interaction. Small talk isn't about facts, really. It's about tempo and rhythm. You have to match their energy level first.
Which leads to a fascinating realization for me. If tempo and emotional resonance matter more than the actual words, then the pressure to say something incredibly profound is completely misplaced.
Absolutely.
The strategy is just to be, as the book says, prosaic with passion. Let's look at Samuel Hayakawa. He was a brilliant linguistic analyst of Japanese descent. During World War II, he found himself stuck in a Wisconsin train station.
Which is a very tense environment at that time.
Exactly. The environment was highly tense, and people were staring at him with obvious suspicion and fear just due to the geopolitical climate.
Now, as a brilliant scholar, you might think his instinct would be to deliver some highly intellectual monologue, to prove his sophistication and ease the tension.
Right.
But he did the exact opposite. He made the most unoriginal, boring comments imaginable. He turned to a couple and simply noted that it was too bad the train was late on such a cold night, and that it must be exhausting traveling with a small child.
But the secret was the delivery, right? He offered those prosaic remarks with deep, empathetic passion. In a high-stress encounter, the human brain's amygdala is on high alert for threats.
Yep.
Complex, highly intellectual statements require a heavy cognitive load to process, which can actually increase suspicion. By using banal, cognitively easy remarks delivered with deep empathy, he signaled total safety.
And it worked instantly. Within 10 minutes, this couple, who initially feared he might be an enemy spy, literally invited him to their home for dinner.
Wow.
His first words put their nervous systems totally at ease. Now, if you want to invite people to break the ice with you, instead of doing the approaching, you can utilize something called a what's it.
Well, what's it?
Yeah.
I love that name.
It's great. A what's it is simply a unique prop you wear or carry that gives strangers a socially acceptable excuse to approach you. The author mentions wearing a vintage lorgnette, like an antique double monocle around her neck.
Okay, that's definitely a conversation starter.
Sure. Or there's a gentleman mentioned who always carries Greek worry beads.
It fundamentally lowers the barrier to entry for a conversation. Someone can just walk up and say, "Excuse me, what is that?" But, once that conversation is initiated, you are inevitably going to face the two most common questions in the English language.
Oh, yes. Where are you from? And what do you do?
Exactly. And the absolute golden rule here is never the naked city and never the naked Job.
Meaning, if someone asks where you're from and you just say Columbus, Ohio, or if they ask what you do and you say, I'm an accountant, you're actively killing the momentum.
You're just dropping a wall down.
Yeah, you're forcing the other person to frantically search for a follow-up question.
I always visualize this as throwing a conversational life raft to a drowning person. When you give a naked one-word answer, you are essentially throwing them an anvil.
An anvil, yes, they just sink.
They just sink into an awkward silence. But imagine the immense relief your conversation partner feels when you give them a hook to grab onto. Like, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, which is actually the birthplace of the artist George Bellows. Or, I'm an accountant, but specifically, I work with independent restaurants to help them navigate supply chain costs, and right now, I'm seeing a fascinating trend with...
Right, you're throwing them a life raft.
Yeah.
You are providing conversational fodder so they have something to react to.
Exactly.
Small talk gets your foot in the door, and the life raft keeps the conversation afloat. But mere survival isn't the goal here.
Right.
To forge a lasting bond, you need to elevate the discussion to a level that signals you aren't just a polite stranger, but a true insider. You need to cross the threshold into deep rapport.
And the most direct way to cross that threshold is to just leverage human ego. We are fundamentally driven by the pleasure-pain principle, and there is honestly no sweeter sound to the human brain than validation. Which brings us to communication. Big winners naturally start as many sentences as possible with the word you to push the listener's pride button.
It completely shifts the focus entirely onto the listener's competence. The author illustrates this with the time she was lost in San Francisco trying to find the Golden Gate Bridge.
Classic scenario.
Yeah, and whenever she asked pedestrians, "Where's the Golden Gate Bridge?" or "I can't find the bridge," she was just met with dismissive points and rushed answers. Nobody wanted to help.
But she fundamentally changed the dynamic when she shifted her phrasing to, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the Golden Gate Bridge is?"
Yes. By simply adding the word you, she subtly challenged their local expertise. It pushed their pride button. People literally walked over to her car window to give her highly detailed, explicit instructions.
It validates their knowledge.
Exactly. And we can take that validation a step further by learning a technique called gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook.
Yes. Every profession and hobby has its own insider language.
Yeah.
If you know you're attending a gathering dominated by a specific demographic, you ask a friend in that field for a few insider opening questions beforehand.
Like, give me an example.
Take scuba diving, for example. If you meet a diver and ask a basic outsider question like, "Oh, is it dangerous?"
Yeah.
you're forcing them to give the exact same tired answer they've given 1,000 times.
Right. They're probably so bored of that question.
Exactly. But if you use gobbledygook and ask about their bottom time, or if they prefer to dive on a computer, their eyes light up. Or if you're speaking with artists, you don't ask them to describe their work, which most artists despise doing, by the way.
Oh, I bet.
You ask them what medium they work in.
Now, I have to challenge the ethics of this for a second.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because if I know nothing about scuba diving and I start throwing around terms like bottom time, aren't I just faking expertise? Like, doesn't that risk blowing up in my face the second they realize I'm actually clueless?
It's a really valid concern, but it's a critical distinction to make. Gobbledygook is absolutely not about faking expertise.
Okay.
You aren't pretending you know the answers. You are simply taking the time to ask the right questions. It's a profound form of in-group signaling. You're basically acknowledging that you are an outsider, but you're showing such immense respect for their passion that you learn their language just to ask them about it.
Oh, I see.
It gives them the gift of bypassing the boring introductory explanations and getting straight to the nuanced details they genuinely love discussing.
That is essentially linguistic empathy. You are stepping into their shoes and speaking their language. And, if we take that idea of linguistic empathy to its logical conclusion, it leads us directly into a technique called echoing. This is the practice of listening really closely and repeating the exact nouns and verbs someone uses to describe their world.
It's linguistic mirroring, and it just completely bypasses our critical filtering. There's a great example of a highly successful furniture salesperson who meticulously echoed her client's vocabulary.
How so?
Well, when she was selling office furniture to an advertising executive, she referred to their space as an agency. When speaking to a publisher, she called it a publishing house. To a radio executive, it was a station. She never used the generic word office.
It shows she understands them. And it extends to political correctness within an industry, too. Like, if a pharmacist refers to their workplace as a pharmacy, you absolutely do not call it a drugstore.
Right, it's about respect.
And why does echoing work so well? Because the human brain is somewhat narcissistic. When we hear our own highly specific vocabulary repeated back to us, our subconscious automatically registers the speaker as a member of our tribe. It builds this immediate subliminal bridge of trust.
So true. So we've established an incredibly strong foundation for in-person connection. But relationships don't exist in a vacuum, right?
Right.
They have to survive being apart, transitioning to phone calls, and navigating chaotic environments. The mechanics of the follow-through are really what separate fleeting acquaintances from lasting allies.
Let's look at the telephone then, because we all have that one friend who answers the phone with a massive, generic, overly enthusiastic, "Hello."
Oh, yeah.
It feels welcoming at first, but the text points out a massive psychological flaw in that approach.
The flaw is that a generic happy voice Makes the caller feel like they're just receiving the standard treatment. The smile isn't for them.
Yeah.
It's just your default setting.
Right.
The strategy to fix this is called, "Oh, wow, it's you."
Mm-hmm.
You should answer every call professionally and neutrally. Then you pause. You wait to hear who is calling. And only after you recognize their identity do you let a massive, warm smile spill into your voice.
The psychology of the earned smile comes back into play.
Exactly.
It makes the caller feel like your excitement was triggered exclusively by their presence. And once you've established that warmth, you immediately have to navigate boundaries using a technique called "What color is your time?"
Because stomping on someone's internal clock will destroy rapport instantly, no matter how great your previous conversations were.
Seriously?
Instead of just launching into a pitch or a story when they pick up, you check their emotional availability. You ask, "Is this a good time?" Or, as one broadcaster brilliantly framed it, "What color is your time?"
I love that phrasing.
It's so good. Red means "I'm rushing, stop." Yellow means "I'm busy, make it quick." Green means "Sure, let's talk." By asking this, you prove that you value their time more than your own agenda.
Which brings us to the ultimate follow-through technique for when you are back in person. It is a legendary strategy for making people feel like absolute royalty, known as the business card dossier. This is all about tracking the minute details of someone's life.
Politicians are the absolute masters of this.
Mm.
Whenever they finish a conversation at, say, a fundraiser or a rally, they walk away, pull out the person's business card, and secretly jot down the tiny personal details they just discussed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they write down the person's favorite obscure restaurant, the specific sport their kid plays, or the exact location of their upcoming vacation.
It's the modern equivalent of a politician's little black book. And the beauty of tracking is the payoff. The next time you run into that person, you don't say a generic "how's business?" You say, "Did your daughter make the varsity softball team?" Or "How is the food at that Sekwan place you went to last month?"
It's so powerful.
And the irony of this active listening is just beautiful. By remembering their minutia, you make them feel like a movie star whose minor life events are headline news. But in doing so, you become completely unforgettable to them.
It is the ultimate compliment. It proves that when they spoke, you weren't just waiting for your turn to talk, you were truly listening.
If we step back and look at the transformation we've mapped out today, it's incredible. You started out walking into a room full of strangers, feeling intimidated and unsure of how to break the ice. But now, you have the psychological tools to engineer a smile that feels genuinely earned. You know how to read the physiological cues of eye contact. You know to throw a conversational life raft to prevent awkward silences. And you understand how to use linguistic empathy to turn complete strangers into members of your tribe.
You've mastered the mechanics of connection. But before we wrap up, there's one final provocative concept from the source material that completely reframes how we view social dynamics.
All right.
It's an overarching theory called the Great Scorecard in the Sky.
This is such a fascinating lens for observing human behavior, because we like to think of conversations as equal exchanges, but that's rarely the case.
No, it's not. The author suggests that hovering invisibly over every single human interaction is a giant fluctuating scorecard. The numbers change based on status, environment, and expertise. But the one unbreakable rule of the social jungle is this: the player with a lower score in any given context must pay deference to the player with the higher score.
And if you don't,
If you fail to read the scorecard, if you don't show the proper deference, or if you accidentally condescend to someone whose score is currently higher than yours, you get thrown out of the game permanently.
it's an entirely invisible power dynamic. So here's our challenge to you as you take these tools out into the real world. The next time you walk into a boardroom, a networking event, or even just a family dinner, don't just look at what people are wearing or listen to the literal words they are saying.
Yeah, look, peeper.
Silently observe the room and look for the scorecard. Watch the body language. Notice who stops talking when someone else interrupts. See if you can spot exactly who is giving deference to whom. It will completely change the way you read a room.
It truly is a masterclass in social observation. We hope you've enjoyed breaking down these insights as much as we have.
We absolutely loved tailoring this deep dive for you. Take these tools into your next meeting. Observe that scorecard. We can't wait to hear how this completely changes the way you command a room. If you found value in today's deep dive, please give it a like and make sure you subscribe so you never miss a future deep dive.
And we want to hear directly from you. Leave a comment below and tell us what was your absolute favorite psychological tip from today's discussion.
Was it the flooding smile? The what's it? Let us know. And while you're at it, suggest which book we should explore next. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you on the next deep dive.